Dom Irrera. You're awesome.
I'm all right. I got to tell you, I'm not a fan. I don't. Honest to God,
I don't get the stare.
I think I have good timing, but I don't. I like maybe people go, how many hours of material you got? I go, I don't know. I go, how many good? Not an hour. I got about 20 minutes. I like. I'm serious.
So it never stops. Is what you're saying?
I never was so depressed until I did Sirius Radio with Dom Irrera. I was so happy about getting the festival. Boom, he hit into that. Then he told me about the future and writing, and it never gets known.
Really getting me pumped up over
I'll tell you what,
here.
it doesn't get easier.
Oh, yeah.
And especially for you guys that are younger, so many thoughts have been thought now. It's like writing a love song.
Yeah.
When you write it, when the Beatles wrote a love song, they had so much more love to play around with, words. Now, I mean, look at our, I see things, like I saw Mark Maron last week at the Comedy Store. Mark's a friend of mine. I would never say anything. He did 2 things that I did 15 years ago, and it's not his fault.
No.
Yeah.
It's just how many
parallel
thoughts
thinking.
can you have?
Yeah.
So you don't get upset? Do you ever call anybody out on ripping you off?
Well, Lewis Black, who's a friend of mine, 2 people ripped me off, Jerry Seinfeld and Lewis. And
Man,
Lewis was
like this. Shots fired.
no, I got to tell you what happened was it's very interesting because we're friends and we totally made up in Kilkenny a couple months ago, but they quoted him. I had a joke. It was laughter's the best medicine. Actually, medicine's the best medicine. That's why I call it medicine. What are you, retarded? when you got 102 fever, I would trade my joke book in for an antibiotic. Right? So basically, that joke, he did word for word till the middle of it. And they put it in the New York Post, and he was one of the 7 best jokes of the year.
Oh, God.
So I got all these fucking phone calls. So now the thing about Lewis is I know he wouldn't do it maliciously.
Right.
And he does. I'd say, Lewis, it's my joke, and I don't know if you had asked me for it. And you know that ironically, that we know where I did it, where he heard it on his special. And the reason I was on his special is because he wouldn't do the special unless I did it. His gala rather.
Oh man.
And in Kilkenny he kind of rethought it, but he was saying, I said, well, I'm not blaming you maliciously. I'm just telling you it's my joke. If you ever heard it, and I said, maybe you subconsciously picked it up. He goes, no, it wasn't my subconscious. I go, but that's why they call it the subconscious, because you don't do it consciously. It's underneath your consciousness level, So anyway, we're fine now. And the other one was Seinfeld. I don't want to monopolize the whole show, but
No, I want to hear this.
Go nuts, man.
I want to hear this
Seinfeld
one.
was interesting because he was in the lobby of the Laugh Factory, and I said to him, Jerk, can you help me out with a line? And I did this bit about sports, and I really know sports. He really doesn't. He just wears a Mets cap and says he's a sports fan. And I mean, he really doesn't. He didn't grow up with it. I grew up with it. Anyway, so he does the bit on Letterman. Verbatim, but with a punchline, with a good punchline. That's what I was looking for. And I said, Jared, thanks for trying that bit out on Letterman. So now that I know it works, I can do it at Bananas in Poughkeepsie. And he said, what are you talking about? I told him, he goes, I don't remember that. I go, Jerry, you remember every fucking cotton ball that went by your observational brilliant mind. So listen to this. I had him hung up. What happened was I was in the movie Comedian, where I brought up, just very briefly, I brought up Orny Adams, right? And so then we had to sign things to get paid because it was a SAG movie, and I wouldn't sign it. And the lady calls me. She doesn't know Jerry and I are old friends. Lady calls me up, calls my publicist. They call me. They're in a panic. They need to sign this thing. I said, tell them to call me. And the lady goes, I don't think that's going to happen. Like he's too big to call me. And I said, tell her I don't think that I'm going to sign it. How about that? Tell her to go fuck herself. So anyway, so then he calls me, and he's too smart. He dances around and talks about things and just like old times and stuff. And then nothing happened. And he says, are you going to sign this thing? I said, yeah, Jerry, I'll sign it. So I'm totally lying. I go to Edinburgh. I'm in Edinburgh for a couple weeks. 3 weeks later, he calls me up. He goes, man, you got to sign this thing. And then he goes, listen, man, I'm sorry if I took something. I didn't do it consciously. And, I love you. And I said, and that was all he had to say. And then I signed it.
And he signed it, yeah.
Did they give you a car? Should have given you a car.
Let me clarify that Seinfeld and Lewis Black are not thieves.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, no.
I was
Nobody
just saying
thinks that.
stories and,
Yeah.
that happened, which it was so weird to have a billionaire kind of calling you up. You know,
Yeah. That's
But
all right.
I have a great history with them. So
I know that. It's just parallel thinking, man.
Well, we'll soundbite it to make it sound like we're thieves, though. It's more salacious that way.
Absolutely. Get some
Irrera says Seinfeld's a thief.